welcome to Radio Friends on Friday, June the 30th. We've got a friend of mine who I haven't talked to for quite a while, Tim Rich. But we go back many, many years with appearances that you did on Pepper and Friends, wearing so many different hats. We were trying to figure it all out. You were with Salvation Army. You were with the Food Bank.
Food Bank, yes.
And
with Alternative Community Training and Family Counseling Center and Congressman Kenny Hulshoff's office and then United Way. And now I'm with Welcome Home.
Okay. Explain what Welcome Home is.
Welcome Home is an emergency and transitional shelter for homeless veterans. And so I've watched this shelter over the years. I used to run shelters at Salvation Army. 25 years ago, there were a lot of Vietnam veterans on the street with no place to go. Suffering from the effects of being in combat and all that they saw and experienced. There were two brothers that were sleeping on a railroad track downtown in Columbia, and it got very cold one night, and one of them died from exposure. Well, there was a group of about 5 Vietnam vets up at the VFW that were trying to help these guys, and that was it. That was the breaking point for them. So they pooled their money, and they mortgaged their homes, and they purchased a facility at the corner of Range Line and Business Loop that has operated for 25 years as a shelter exclusively for veterans who are in need of assistance and who are living on the street.
How many veterans are living on the street today?
More than anybody would imagine. We were in partnership with the Truman VA Hospital. They tell us that in the state of Missouri right now there are 700 homeless veterans on the street. A lot of them are veterans who actually served in combat. We have a lot of Vietnam veterans. There are some who didn't serve in combat, but they went in young to the service. They had a very regimented life. Somebody told them when and where to go and how to do it and what to dress.
And they came out
and they had no idea how to navigate life.
So there are over 700
in the state.
You know, Tim, when you think of that, it's shameful.
It is shameful.
It is shameful.
It breaks your heart.
It just, but putting it bluntly, it's shameful.
It is.
That these people went into the military, they served the country, they came out, and now it's almost as if the country is turning its back on these veterans.
Right.
They're sleeping out in the streets.
And they're on the streets. There are campgrounds out in the woods that they are in, along with some other homeless folks as well. And one of the wonderful things that's happening in the VA, and has been for about the last 4 or 5 years, is the VA is now paying attention to it, and they are providing services. They are part of a larger coalition of folks in Columbia that actually go out to the camps to build relationship, take supplies, take food, and try to encourage some of these folks to come in. But when you think about the fact that every single veteran that served in the United States military, male or female, they signed on the dotted line, willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for all of us, whether they lost their life or not. We owe them at least to give them a new start when they hit bottom and find themselves on the street. And that's what Welcome Home is about.
Why do you think so many of them have hit bottom in their life?
What I have found, and I've only been to Welcome Home since September, so I'm a newbie on this side of the clinical piece. I understand the homeless issues. We have an awful lot of folks who have post-traumatic stress syndrome, who have toxic stress syndrome, or who have some type of a traumatic brain injury. And I'm learning a lot about that. Sometimes PTSD is there. They come back, and I have a brother.
What,
PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Okay.
Sometimes you come back from combat or from some incident, even if you weren't in combat, that has traumatized you. But as a good soldier, you pack it down and you march forward to serve your country. And so a lot of times, once you get out of the service and you start rebuilding your life, it takes time, and then that comes back up.
Right.
And I had a young man.
And it's a nightmare.
It's a terrible nightmare.
It's a nightmare. It comes back, and it hits you like a ton of bricks.
It does. I had a 20-something-year-old, or actually 35-year-old male, black male that came in off the street. He said, listen, he said, I was doing well. I've been out of the service 12 years, got married, I had a child, had another child. Life was going really well. Had a job. And then we had the third child, and all of a sudden, I wasn't able to cope, and I was having problems in my marriage. So we moved to Columbia, where she had family, thinking that would help if we had more support. And it didn't help. And he said, I was going to lose my marriage. And so he left and came to us and said, I need help. Can you please put me up and help me?
He's one of the fortunate ones.
Absolutely.
He's one of the fortunate ones who realized that there was help out there and that he had enough emotion left
Yes.
that he could ask for help.
Ask for help and to identify that he needed help. So many of our veterans don't realize they need help until all of a sudden all of their family, all of their friends, all their support networks are gone. And very often, it's very common for them to self-medicate with drugs and alcohol, and then they lose everything because they're just trying to kill the pain of what they experienced.
So what can people do who are listening or watching? What can they do to help?
One of the things they can do, if they know a veteran that is in this kind of a situation or headed for it, refer them to Welcome Home. Call us at 573-443-8001, and we will get them connected with services at the VA, with counseling services. We do social work services in-house. If they need housing, we can provide it.
You can provide housing?
We are providing emergency and transitional housing. So last year, we have an outreach for those at risk of homelessness, and then we have a shelter that has 11 beds. We've been sleeping 13 for the last year. We served 124 individual veterans last year, but we had to turn away 92 for lack of space.
So what happened to those 92?
They either get services from some of the other folks in town, or they go on their way and come back to us when there's availability. But the good news is we have finished a capital campaign. We are getting ready to open a 32-bed shelter that can also provide shelter for female veterans and veterans with families down at the end of Business Loop at 2120. We're hoping to take possession on June 26th now, and our grand opening is scheduled for July 30th. So we will be able to ramp up the number, serve 32 families and veterans in that facility.
So you can take in whole families?
We'll be able to take in whole families for the first time ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if people want to help out, if they want more information, you have a website?
Website is welcomehomelessveterans.org.
Okay, it's welcomehomelessveterans.org.
That's correct.
And if you didn't get that, go to Google and
search
Google
Welcome Home Columbia.
Welcome Home Columbia. That'll get you all the information.
Get you all the information.
And if folks want to make a donation, they can donate on your website.
They can, or they can call us if they'd like to deliver a check. I'd be glad to take it, and we truly appreciate everyone's support.
All right, Tim Rich, thank you so much for coming by. It was good connecting with you once again.
It's great to see you.
Please come back again and keep us posted on how things are going with Welcome.
I would love to do that.
Okay. Monday, we've got the Rotary Youth Exchange Program and Your Money with Alex LaBrunery. Our program directed by Travis McMillan, Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio is Pat Akers from KBIA. Our floor director today is Aviva Okerson Haberman. Did I pronounce it right, Aviva? And Aviva means spring, correct, in Hebrew. Bye-bye.